first ever 2-night SummerSlam is right around the corner, and with PLEs like Saturday Night Main Event and Evolution between now and then, what does the match card look like for SummerSlam? Well, that's why I'm here. I'm Brandon, one half of the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling podcast, and these are my 2025 SummerSlam match card predictions. Originally, I wanted to hold off on this idea until Will got back, but then I realized Will gets back just a couple weeks before SummerSlam, so at that point, SummerSlam matches are probably already announced. Probably not the full card with how WWE loves to do things nowadays, but if I wanted to get this video out, I decided to do it now. There are a couple matches I won't waste your time on. We already know they're going to happen. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, as Cody Rhodes wins King of the Ring and is now facing John Cena at SummerSlam for the title. And Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. Jade obviously wins Queen of the Ring, so she faces Tiffany at SummerSlam. Yes, I do have Tiffany beating Trish Stratus at Evolution. Now, you may say, well, Brandon, you thought for the longest time Naomi versus Jade, there'd be a cash-in at Evolution with Naomi, and Naomi would be the one to carry that title into SummerSlam. Well, kind of changed my opinion on that. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Those are the first two matches I have right off the bat. They're the easy ones, right? They're the gimmies. Don't try to overthink this stuff. You go ahead and you look at it now. So you have 2 nights. So what does 2 nights mean? Well, you're probably looking at somewhere between 12 to 14 matches. I have 14 matches here, but we got a lot of stuff to get to and a lot of people to get on the card. The first match after that, the third match overall that I'm going to do, is a match we already should have gotten. It should have been at Night of Champions. Should have been Dom Mysterio versus AJ Styles. Dom's got that rib injury, that lingering rib injury. We'll see if that is healed up by then. It might just be a broken heart by Liv Morgan being out. I think this one is an easy one to get on the card. I think Dom is going to showcase how good and great he is in the ring. It's AJ Styles, so at the end of the day, AJ Styles can make me look really good, but I think SummerSlam, you do get Dom Mysterio versus AJ Styles. The next match I'm going to talk about is one that they've hinted on SmackDown, involving Damian Priest and Aleister Black. Now, Damian Priest has been sticking up for his buddy R-Truth, and Aleister Black hasn't taken too kindly to that. We do get Aleister Black versus R-Truth on SmackDown this week. I think there's going to end up being some shenanigans. Maybe Damian Priest ends up costing Aleister Black. Give R-Truth the win. Much needed win for R-Truth, I think. And it really sets up Damian Priest versus Aleister Black to go on to SummerSlam. You even had a backstage promo here where Aleister Black is talking about, well, you wouldn't just set up your friend, would you, Damian? I thought you were a good guy. And you have Damian Priest say, who said I was the good guy? Who says Truth's going to be the victim of violence? So they're really hinting at it. And honestly, you can sign me up. I think these two are fantastic. I think this is going to be a sneaky match of the weekend candidate. It's going to be hard hitting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be action packed. So go ahead and give me Damian Priest versus Aleister Black. The next match I have stems from the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag match at Evolution. So it's involving the champs. Yes, I still think they retain at Evolution. Give me Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez versus the newly formed team of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Now, originally I was kind of out on the idea. I thought, again, why are we continuing to do the same thing where we throw top tier women's wrestlers together and just say, hey, go out there and be a tag team, make the titles relevant? Well, that hasn't really worked a ton for me. It hasn't really brought prestige, as Gunther would say, to those tag titles. But this newly formed team, I'm really kind of liking. We've only had small instances with them, small backstage promos, even only one match at the time of recording this. But I think this has been fantastic stuff. I really do think Alexa is the way to just get the fans on Charlotte's side. Obviously, Charlotte had a really rough go of things. After the Rumble win, she faced a lot of backlash. Not only after that, but you had her versus Tiffany Stratton. Not the greatest feud, right? A lot of people were worried about Charlotte bearing Tiffany for good reason. Charlotte went ahead, though. She gave Tiffany the win in the end, so that's really kind of what was important, even though the ride along the way was a little bumpy. I think you have to have Roxanne on there and Raquel. I think the Judgment Day storyline in terms of building credibility, building a team, building a bond while Liv Morgan is gone is really the story for all of Judgment Day right now, especially with Liv being gone out for such a long time. They're going to kind of just delay that until Liv eventually comes back closer to, let's say, maybe Rumble. So go ahead and give me Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez versus Charlotte and Alexa. The next match I have also stems from Evolution, but it's not the Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria for the women's IC title, like you might think. Well, I think at Raw this past week with the double pin, they pretty much already kind of showed their cards. I've got Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria for the women's IC title at SummerSlam. So you think, okay, well, which one of those two is taking the title off Becky at Evolution? I do think Bayley gets the title at Evolution. I think you run Bayley versus Lyra. I think that is the money feud. I think that is the feud they want to do. I think that is the feud that honestly most people want to see. I think a lot of people love Becky Lynch and like this heel run for Becky Lynch, but Becky's really done almost all she can kind of do for that IC title. She really brought that IC title up. She really built that prestige. She really helped Lyra out. She has Lyra being a new Lyra. She's confident. She's strong. She's actually getting over on the mic. She's obviously great in the ring, but Lyra now versus Lyra months ago has been leaps and bounds better. And then you have Bayley. I mean, there's not much else to really say. I think Bayley is one of the underrated for her horsewomen. I think a lot of people really do like Bayley. I think they've really shown and grown with her and saying, hey, you know what? She is really great. So go ahead and give me Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria for the women's IC title. I think it just kind of writes itself. Well, right after that, you may be thinking, well, if Becky Lynch isn't involved in that, what's Becky Lynch kind of involved in? Becky Lynch has to be on the SummerSlam card. I agree. You're not wrong there. It's kind of a dream match, kind of a hopeful, wishful thinking, I would say. But I do think Becky drops the title at Evolution, and you may say, well, what is there for Becky? There's only really 3 weeks between Evolution and SummerSlam, roughly. Go ahead and give me the winner of the Battle Royal at Evolution. Give me Stephanie Vaquer versus Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. I think that's just going to be really fun. I think Stephanie is continuing to grow and she is the future. I think everybody knows that. I think WWE's kind of fumbled a little bit, but I'm hopeful with the Evolution run. I'm hopeful that they put her on SummerSlam and they really kind of show, hey, Stephanie's here to stay. She is the future. She is the one, right? So I think her versus Becky would be great. I don't think there's a ton that you have to have built in there. I think Becky's already shown she can do a lot with a short amount of time, right? So you can have Becky come out on Monday after losing at Evolution. She can complain that she was screwed over. She can complain that she was robbed. She can complain that she deserves another shot. And you can have Stephanie interrupt her and say, well, you know what? It doesn't really matter what title at the end of the day you hold. You don't really match up to me. I am the one sort of thing. Something simple, something small, right? It doesn't have to be a lot, but go ahead and give me that. That's a match to get both of these two amazing women on the card that I would just love to see. I've talked a lot about the Raw side of things. Now let's go ahead and shift over to the SmackDown side of things. I've got a couple of different tag matches here, so we'll go ahead and throw the easy one out of the way. I think you've got Soulline and his family tree, as I guess they're calling it now. Solo Sikoa, Tala Tonga, Tonga Loa, taking on Jimmy Uso, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga. Yes, I do think we get some sort of Bloodline Civil War at SummerSlam once again. It's going to be fun. Yeah, at the end of the day, the characters are kind of the same. They're just kind of interchangeable, right? You do have Jacob, you have the Tongas, you have Solo, you have Jimmy, you have Tala Tonga. I think that's obviously the wild card and all is, how does that look? You can have him debut. You can have him look strong. You can kind of protect him a little bit as well in this tag match. But I mean, all roads are kind of pointing to this. Who knows at this point if Solo still has the U.S. title? I personally think he doesn't really need it along in this feud, but that is a quick way or a quick turnaround, a short title reign. And I think Solo deserves a lengthy title reign. So who knows if Solo is the U.S. champ? They might just run Solo versus Jacob again at SummerSlam. But I think with all these other parts, you got to kind of have that happen. Now, looking on the single side of things, I think this match might be the one that I'm most excited for. You have a returning Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton, and you may say, well, Brandon, they just fought at Saturday Night Main Event. Yeah, Saturday Night Main Event is just a few weeks again between there and SummerSlam. So go ahead, run it again. I don't care what they do. I don't care if there's a clean finish. I don't care who wins, honestly, at Saturday Night Main Event. Go ahead, just run a hard-hitting match. Run a slow, methodical match. Give me Drew McIntyre returning and really kind of making a statement. Have him fight Randy Orton, the Viper Randy Orton. Have those thoughts with Randy and the hesitation start to creep away. And have that Viper, that legend killer, really kind of creep back in. I think this is a feud that could do that. I think this is a feud that deserves that. I think it's a feud that you don't just run it one time at Saturday Night Main Event. I think you kind of got to run it at SummerSlam as well. So earlier I talked about Jade Cargill and Tiffany and how I think that is going to be the match for the SmackDown Women's title. And you may say, well, what about Naomi? Where does she kind of fit into things? Well, she has a no-hold-barred match against Jade at Evolution. I think you do get a returning Bianca Belair. I think the Bianca heel turn hopes that I had are kind of crushed, right? I think you look at it and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense at this point. She's had enough time away. The Bianca heel turn hopes have kind of just faded away for me. It's kind of a, hey, the absence has made the heart grow fonder. I miss Bianca. I miss her coming out. I miss her cutting the promos. I miss the EST. Well, what better way to really put her in a match, put her in a high-profile match like SummerSlam, boom, against Naomi. That is a simple plug-and-play. I don't know when Bianca is coming back. She might make an appearance in that Battle Royale at Evolution. She also might make an appearance in the Naomi-Jade Cargill match at Evolution. That is a no-holds-bar match. So we'll see kind of what happens. But I think this is a no-brainer. Bianca can take the win there. Naomi still has the Money in the Bank briefcase, so that's an easy shoe-in in case she wants to challenge at any time. She has that credibility. You could have Jade defeat Tiffany at SummerSlam, right? And you can kind of look at Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. That's kind of a money feud with Naomi still kind of hanging out in the background. I think that is the end goal. So that just sounds like it makes the most sense to me. So WWE, go ahead and do that. These two matches kind of go in hand together for SummerSlam for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of group them together here. I do have LA Knight, versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. And you may say, well, Brandon, that just happened at Saturday Night Main Event. Why would it happen again at SummerSlam? Well, honestly, that's a good point. It's a great question. I think that this is the easiest way to just have those two again at SummerSlam. They both need to be on the SummerSlam card. So you could have Saturday Night Main Event end in some sort of shenanigans, some sort of Seth Rollins disqualification. He does have Braun and Bronson, the law firm, the lawyers, whatever you want to call them, hanging out in the background. So maybe they do end up causing a disqualification at Saturday Night Main Event. I'm sorry, Saturday Night Main Event fans, but that's just kind of what it's looking like to me. And you can just run that back at SummerSlam with Seth with the Money in the Bank briefcase hanging around in the background. You may say, well, what match kind of coincides with that? Well, I think Raw kind of showed us a little bit already. You do have Penta, Jay, and Sammy versus the law firm, the lawyers, whatever they want to call themselves. Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and originally I had Seth Rollins in here pulling double duty, but then I thought about it. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We've seen him do it before, don't get me wrong, but there's always a plan B, right? I think by then, by SummerSlam, that plan B does come into play. Maybe at Saturday Night Main Event, maybe that plan B ends up costing LA Knight at Saturday Night Main Event. Seth Rollins gets the win. You can go ahead and carry that into plan B is now with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And he's against Jay, Penta, Sammy, and those faction tag teams on Raw. They can go head to head, and we can really see who kind of reigns supreme there. So go ahead and give me Penta, Jey Uso, and Sami Zayn versus Braun and Bronson Reed. And plan B, I would probably say All Ego, Ethan Page maybe by that point, but who really knows? Anybody's kind of up in play at this point. Now you may say, Brandon, what about Io Sky and Rhea Ripley? They're running at Evolution. Could they just run the back at SummerSlam like you just mentioned with LA Knight and Seth Rollins? Yeah, I think so. I think there's a high probability of that happening. So right now I kind of reserve the right to have that penciled in, but I do also have Asuka in this match. I do have a triple threat match. I do have Rhea versus Io versus Asuka. Now you may say, how does Asuka get involved? Well, I don't really know, to tell you the truth. I think Io versus Asuka has been hinted at, obviously, but at the same time, it's hard for me to see Rhea losing clean to Io again at Evolution and turning around and just getting another match at SummerSlam. So I don't really know how they're going to navigate that. Maybe insert a Jessica Carr and you can have another ref screwing a wrestler out of something, right? And you can have that happen. So then that way Io gets the defense. She carries that title into SummerSlam. Rhea gets her rematch. And instead of just running it back from Evolution, you can add Asuka in there as well. Make that fun, make that enjoyable. Asuka deserves something. She might be with Kairi Sane and the Kabuki Warriors, might reunite at this point, but I would much rather see her versus Io. And you have to have Rhea Ripley on the card, so go ahead and give me a triple threat. Then last but not least, if you've watched all the way through, you probably know where this is. I haven't mentioned Gunther. Well, I think Gunther versus CM Punk is going to happen at SummerSlam. I think that's going to be the big match. I think obviously you have the Cody versus John stuff, but in the background, I think CM Punk versus Gunther can't be overlooked. We've already hinted at it a little bit with Raw, with CM Punk pushing Gunther down, and I thought at the time, maybe that's really nothing, right? Well, I started to think about it. I think there's something there. It's a match that I would like to see. Gunther obviously works a slow, methodical pace. CM Punk's a little bit older, can't really go the way he used to. So I think they're going to have a nice technical match, honestly. I think it's going to be fun. You have Seth Rollins kind of looming in the background, right, to keep CM Punk from becoming a champion. You have him and Gunther with stare downs, obviously. They have some history as well. So that kind of play comes into play as well. And what happens? Seth Rollins may try to cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase, and then maybe you get a Roman Reigns appearance to stop. I'm not really going to bank on the Roman Reigns return. I understand why people want it. I understand why people think we're going to get it. We might, and that's great. Him with his schedule and him not coming back already, I'm just over guessing when Roman Reigns is going to come back. So you could pencil it in here. Maybe there is an attempt and maybe Roman Reigns stops Seth Rollins, but then it's reported Roman's going to be gone for a while anyway with movie filming. So if that is the case, he won't be on TV anyway. So it's just like, why even do it at that point? So who really knows? But I think you have Gunther versus CM Punk with Seth Rollins hanging out there to maybe tease a cash in. And if you made it this far in the video, make sure to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. A little bit of a different video, obviously, me by myself. Well, let me tell you, it's a little bit harder to do this by yourself. But those were my 2025 SummerSlam Matchcard predictions. Obviously, there are 2 nights. What do you guys think about the predictions? Do you guys think Io versus Rhea's run back again? Does Rhea take the title off Io and now Rhea's champion? She just beats Io at Evolution and SummerSlam. What about Seth Rollins, LA Knight? What about the Law Firm? What about the Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa? How does that come into play? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Go ahead and drop your full predictions in your match cards down below. Make sure to share with somebody. Let's kind of try to keep this community growing a little bit. It's been a great time. As always, we will have a watch along for SummerSlam, night 1 and night 2. Will be back by then, so he can grace everybody with his presence. I'm sure he will let everybody know. But as always, make sure to follow us on all socials. Make sure to like and subscribe. We do have the reactions TikTok that is up. Make sure to stop by for the live streams. Make sure to tell friends. We're going to just try to continue to keep this thing going. But until next time, I'm Brandon, one half of the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling podcast. I'll see you guys next time.